Hello and welcome to Democrats, People, and Ideas, a production of the Democratic Club of Claremont, California. My name is Ivan Light. I'm Vice President of the Democratic Club of Claremont, California. And our guest today, I'm very proud to bring you, is Russ Warner, Democratic candidate for the 26th Congressional District in which Claremont is nestled. Russ, welcome to Claremont.
Well, thank you very much, Ivan.
I know it's not so far for you to come here. You live in Rancho Cucamonga, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Right? Okay, and you run a business there.
Yes, I do.
Now, Russ, you know this district pretty well, but before we get into your political thinking, why don't you explain a little bit about your background so people know where you've come from and how long you've been here and what your roots are and all those things.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from West Virginia, and my family moved to Arizona when I was very young, and we moved to California when I was 12, and I've been here ever since. And I'm married to a wonderful woman, and her name is Chris. We've been married going on 37 years, and she's now running the family business, which is Warner International Periodical Services, and it's the fifth largest brokerage firm for magazine publishers in the country. And I have three wonderful sons. I have Adam and Matt. They're 22. And Greg is 25. And it's because of Greg I'm actually running for Congress. Greg very proudly served his country in Iraq for 17 months. And when he came home, he and I had a father and son conversation about the war. And at the end, he turned and looked at me and said, "Dad, if you really feel that way, run for Congress. See if you can make a difference." And I never thought I would be doing this in my life. But the one incident that really did change my life was the day that I received a cell phone call from Greg from Iraq. And in the middle of that conversation, I suddenly heard people yelling and screaming and gunfire. That changed my life. I saw the direction the country was going. I had always been against the war in Iraq. And I've always felt that if we had just stayed in Afghanistan, this would all be over now. And this country would be a much more secure country than it is today.
Well, the situation in Afghanistan is coming unstuck, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's now considered more dangerous in Afghanistan than in Iraq. And, it's going to take a lot of work there. I think we can do it. We owe the Afghan people that. I would like to say that one day, very soon, that we'll not only get out of Iraq in a reasonable manner, but we'll be able to leave Afghanistan as well.
Well, that would be nice, but the Taliban are really in Afghanistan. They never were in Iraq, and it's the Taliban who attacked us, if I'm not mistaken.
No, absolutely. I think General Clark said it best, that if we had just stayed in Afghanistan, this would all be over. When we went into Iraq, we really and truly did give our enemy a level playing field. And the Taliban has been getting stronger. We left Afghanistan, and we shouldn't have, and the money that we're now spending in Iraq and Afghanistan, you look at the infrastructure of this country today, the deterioration of our highways, our bridges, our health care system, our schools, this is all due to Iraq and the Bush administration and David Dreyer.
Well, you know, I was watching the Republican National Convention, and they had the fire chief from Minneapolis who jumped in the water and saved people when the bridge collapsed. And they were giving her a lot of accolades, which of course she deserved. But I was thinking, why did that bridge collapse? Why don't they point out that the bridge collapsed because our infrastructure is in a state of dilapidation and that this is something the federal government could have done something about, but didn't?
Absolutely. You look at what's going on in this country. The bridges, the schools, everything that is important to us to have a high standard of living has been deteriorated because of the war. There's no doubt in my mind that if we had stayed in Afghanistan, this country wouldn't be in the financial trouble it's in. We wouldn't be almost $10 trillion in debt. We wouldn't have spent almost $6 billion on an ill-conceived war. This is just an example of the misleadership.
$6 billion, as Shakespeare said, thrift. I believe that Nobel Prize laureate economist has estimated the long-term costs of the war, including all the payments to the vets for their lifetime, at $3 trillion.
Absolutely. You just think about it. I mean, this is a different type of war. This is a war where we may not have lost a lot of lives, but it's definitely a war where they have suffered horrific wounds, and that some of these people will never be fully able to go on with their lives the way that they were before.
Do you think the Bush administration and the incumbent congressman who represents this district, Republican David Dreyer, do you think they're doing enough for our vets, people who come back injured with post-traumatic stress syndrome and so forth?
No, absolutely not. Matter of fact, David Dreyer, since 2003, has voted 6 times against our veterans. The most recent one was the GI Montgomery bill. David Dreyer initially voted against it, and then when he realized it was going to pass, he voted for it. David Dreyer, and he explained this, he did not want to raise the taxes on those making over $500,000 a year. I, for one, would gladly give up $2,500 a year for our young men and women in service so they could go to school, which will only strengthen this country.
Well, now, you say you'd give it up, but do you really think, I mean, Obama says he's going to cut taxes for 95% of the people. Do you really think it'd be necessary to raise taxes for more than 5% of the people?
Well, I think if you really look at it, 95% of the people, we pay much more in taxes than those 5%. When it comes right down to it. And those 5% have now received some of the largest tax cuts in American history for the extreme wealthy. Mm-hmm. And because of that, the middle class is suffering. Trickle-down economics does not work. It should be all about trickle-up economics. And I can assure you that when I get to Washington, I will do whatever I can to make it to where small business and small family businesses are very secure, because right now, under the Bush administration and David Dreyer, they have basically taken small business and small family businesses, which is the majority of those in this district, and they have put them to where it's going to be hard to be an entrepreneur. And that's the spirit of this country. We have no protection under the copyright laws today because of the Bush administration. We have no safety today as far as the antitrust laws are concerned. The American middle class is in trouble. We become a corporate welfare nation under the Bush administration and David Dreyer, and this is about the people.
Well, did you know, possibly you did, that actually 80% of the jobs that are created in this country are created by small business, not by big business?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I believe this country should be run like a small family business.
Small family, well, that's a pretty big family.
Yes, it is. Well, that's where we all come from. It's our hopes and dreams as being middle class to one day strive to own our own business, to be independent of working for someone else. I know myself, I worked 15 and 16 hours a day for over 10 years. It wasn't easy. I never took a day off. I hardly had any rest whatsoever, but I did it. I made it, and I'm one of the few fortunate ones.
Well, we're indebted to you for running for Congress now, and I guess if it weren't for that business which your wife is running, you might not be able to do it.
That's absolutely true. I've been putting some of my own money in this campaign, and I think that we've put together a great campaign. We've now raised almost $800,000. That's more than anyone has ever raised, probably total, in the last 28 years in this district against David Dreyer.
That's actually a fantastic amount of money. I mean, it really is a total turnaround over what's been possible in the past. Is this happening now because there's a sort of a groundswell of opposition to Congressman Dreyer? I mean, he's been in office for 28 years. I'm still waiting for the big bill, the Dreyer bill, that's going to reflect the influence of him. He hasn't really, as far as I can see, done anything notable, although he has voted for with Bush for 95% of the time.
That's right.
Is there something going on under here out in our district here that is resulting in the capability of the Democratic Party to run a viable and serious candidate in this election?
Well, I think it really comes down to the fact that I'm willing to do the hard work, and that's really what it takes. It takes a personal sacrifice. It's not easy running for any public office. I tell everyone that if you don't believe in people, if you don't care about this country, if you don't care about the future of this country, please don't run for public office. Don't make it a career. David Dreyer has been there for 28 years. He's gone Washington on us. He has voted almost 95% of the time with the Bush administration. And my job is going to be to educate the voters on just who David Dreyer is, how he's actually voted against the interest of the people of this district. They have no idea that he is not a moderate.